Hey everybody, it's Angela and I'm back with another process video, and I have a piece of paper here from Kaiser Craft that I got probably the Christmas before last, and when I ordered it I didn't realize that it was a round piece of paper. I thought it was a regular square piece of scrapbook paper with a wreath printed on it, but since it's round I decided to really roll with it and go ahead and cut the center out too so that I can put the whole thing up on foam tape. And I also have some metallic silver paper that I got from Tuesday Morning. It's DCWV cardstock, and I got like 25 sheets for $1.99, so it was a great deal. But the contrast there with that wreath, it has a white border against that silver. I just didn't like that look. So I go ahead and I pull some white cardstock. I wind up changing the white cardstock later too, because the wreath, the white border on it isn't a true white, it's more of a gray color, so I don't like the contrast of that gray against the white either, so at the end of this layout I will wind up changing that to a different color. But for now I'm going with it and I'm putting my foam tape on the back. And I really love the non-traditional colors of this with the pinks and grays. It really had kind of a look of kind of baby colors. So I want to make a layout of my grandkids' first Christmases. So I'll get pictures from each of their first Christmas to put on this layout. And then I use that silver metallic cardstock with these dies. This is Sizzix and Impression Obsession. And I cut out a bunch of evergreen sprigs and foliage. I just love the sparkle of that silver metallic paper. It really matches in well with the grays on that wreath. So I'm liking that. And I print out my grandkids' first Christmas pictures, and I look through my die cuts for some circles. I want to cut out the baby pictures and mat them also on that metallic silver paper. And I want them to be round so that they're reminiscent of the Christmas ornaments that are already on the wreath. So I'm just looking through to see if I have some matching ones that I can use not only for the cutting out of the photo, but for the matting of the photo as well. So I find a couple that will work, and it won't be a big mat. It'll be pretty subtle, and it'll also be in that silver. I don't want to add too many different colors because it was hard to match those pinks and blues, and I do want to use some flowers on this wreath as well, so I thought I'd just go with the silver. So I cut out the baby pictures, and then there you can see I cut out the silver mats. I'm just going to mount those up. So it's going to be subtle, but it gives them all a nice finished look. I like that. Yeah, the pink and teal on that wreath are a little tricky to match. So there you can see, I'm going to put those on there. I wish I would have 5 grandkids because it would have been nice to work with an uneven number of pictures on there, but I only have 4, so I went with that. And these are the flowers I'm going to use. These are die cuts from Cheeky Studio. And I really love these flowers, and the colors matched really well. But again, that wreath has kind of an off-white color tone to it, and these had kind of a white border. So I do wind up just fussy cutting the flowers out and taking the border off. And what's great about this is that there's so many flowers in the die cut pack that you can experiment and play with them and still have more left to do a couple more layouts. So you don't feel like you have to hoard them. There's enough in the package to really get in there and use it. So I'm loving how this is coming together. And so I'm just taking some of those sprigs, putting them kind of behind the photo. And I don't want to put them all over the wreath because I do want the pre-printed ornaments and stuff to kind of show up through. So I'm just going to put the sprigs around where the photographs are. And that pre-printed wreath, the ornaments on that are actually glittered already, so the paper already has a little bit of shine to it. And my hot glue gun's heating up, and while that's heating, I decide to put some thread on the layout. I'm going to put a little bit of blue thread behind each of the grandsons and some pink thread behind each of the granddaughters. I love that. It adds more texture without, adding too much more color to the layout. And I made all my photographs black and white so it would match in with the gray color tones of that wreath. And because, these photographs are from different years, it's just all their first Christmases. So some of them they're wearing bright reds and greens and pinks, and there's just pretty much every color you can imagine in those photos. And so turning them to black and white, I think, really made sense in this context. So now I'm just trying to get them positioned so that they each have some of the pink and blue around them. And there's different sizes of the flowers in the die cut pack, which makes it really nice. You can have a bigger flower and then dot a few smaller flowers around. So I get it how I like it while my glue is heating up. And then I just drizzle a little bit on there, and that will hold down those sprigs and the thread. And then I want to put some of the flowers above the photograph and then tuck in some behind as well, just to integrate those photos into the wreath. I'm loving how that's looking. And I was pretty indecisive when I went to do the title on this. I used some silver glitter thickers to do my title because, again, I didn't have any that would match quite right with the pink and the blue, so I decided to stay with silver. And I also put the title within the wreath. So it's a little bit hard to see on camera, but in person you can really see it because of the shine of those letters. I had a little bit of a hard time matching the curve of this. I wanted it to curve around, but the words themselves aren't that long, so it's hard to kind of curve them because you don't have the length to really get it to look right. So I'll put them like this first, and then I'll wind up changing them later, just because they look like I've put them on crooked instead of curved. And that bothered me. So I'll wind up changing that here in a little bit. But I do like the fact that it's pretty subtle on there, but you can see it in person. I just didn't want it to be on that white cardstock and then look even more busy. So here you can see I went around, I additioned a bunch of different papers just because that white contrasting against the off-white border of that wreath was bothering me. So I found this piece of pink paper. It's also from Kaiser Craft. And that matches really well, and it contrasts without looking off like the white did with the white border of that wreath, if that makes sense. So I think about putting the title inside the wreath and matching the curvature there, but that still didn't really work for me, and it just looked more cluttered. So I decided to just do it straight on the wreath, and instead of curving it, I just put it straight across there, and then it doesn't look quite so off. It doesn't look like I got them crooked. So I'm liking that a lot better. And then because there is glitter on that wreath on each of those ornaments that's pre-printed on there, I decided I'd go ahead and put glitter on the flower centers just to match that in. And it just adds another texture. So on screen, you can't really tell how much texture and glitter this layout really has. There I'm just dotting a little bit, almost like splatters in the background. Again, really subtle. But you know, there's the metallic silver of all those branches sticking out, the glitter thickers, the flowers with their glittery centers, the wreath itself with the shadow line because it's up on foam tape. And so, yeah, there's a lot going on, even though it looks pretty simple. And there you can see, I try to turn it a little bit so you can see some of the shine on there. I really had fun doing this layout. It was a total departure for me just because, you know, it took me out of my comfort zone getting that round piece of paper and then trying to work with it and such a large element on a page. So that really made it fun. It's going to look completely different from any of the other layouts in my scrapbook. And I just love the non-traditional colors and yet it being a Christmas layout. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions or anything, leave them down below, and I will leave the link for the Cheeky Studio die cuts down there as well. And thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you next time. Bye.